Let's go now to the running back position. Dan's newfound love in Dynasty is the running back position. And I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to have Dynasty tiers later in the month, but I'll give you a little bit of a peek at those as well, because this position is really tiered. The two guys at the top, Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, I would not argue with you for ranking either one of them as number one. In fact, in the formula that I used to kind of start formatting these rankings, they came out tied. They are 1A and 1B at the position, and there's a pretty decent teardrop after that for me. And then we get to Devon Achane. Kyren Williams, I expect a little bit of pushback from people on, but I don't know how you can do what he's done the last 2 seasons and be basically in the same situation going into next year and not be a top 4 Dynasty running back. Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, and then really after Bucky Irving, who knows? But Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, and James Cook rounds up the top 12. Again, that's Robinson, Gibbs, Achane, Williams, Hall, Taylor, Barkley, Irving, Brown, Walker, Jacobs, and Cook. It's really after number 8, Dan, where I just feel like I lose all concept of who should be ranked as a top 12.
I totally understand that. I want to make it clear first. It's not a newfound love for running back. I've been very anti-running back in Dynasty. It's me trying to warm up to the idea of you need to have some running backs and you need to change your strategy a little bit as the NFL evolves. So I want to start there. My thoughts on your top 12. It's a really interesting group. I think, the one player I would probably rank higher, I should say, is Josh Jacobs. And I look at Josh Jacobs as a player who's in a really fantastic situation. We found out this year, Matt LaFleur in the past, he's had a lot of rotation at running back, not really much this year. And part of that is because Jacobs offers him something that Aaron Jones didn't offer him. And AJ, and players that he's worked with in the past don't really offer him. It's that complete skill set at the back position. He's the guy I'd have the highest. I think there's a question. I don't want to skip through because I think there's one other question that would answer the following.
Yeah, and I think Jacobs brings up a point at this position that's really difficult and interesting. Is like, what do we do with the fact that the older running backs mostly just all held up this year? Yeah. And some of them had like career years.
Right.
Josh Jacobs is going to be 27 in February. That's generally about the point where we say with a running back, you should only roster him if you're a contender.
Yep.
But we just saw Derrick Henry at 31 be awesome. We've got James Conner and Aaron Jones looking like they're still 26 years old.
Yep.
And so I wonder, like, if it's not just if part of the reason that running back's a little bit more palatable is because we've seen these 2 elite classes of running backs maintain past 27, past 28. And now, or do we get caught in the trap of expecting some non-elite classes to do that? Or is this just the marvel of modern medicine and we're going to have running backs playing for longer? It's a question that I tell you what, we'll know the answer in 2 or 3 years. We can just guess on it now. So last year, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, and Rachaad White were all in my top 12 as of January of 2024. They fell out. Who's going to fall out of this top 12 in the next 12 months?
Yeah, I love this question. It's a fun one to unpack. So there's multiple players in here. I'm going to go for 2 that are kind of the more low-hanging fruit, the ones I think most people pick, and I'm going to go for a wild card pick. So I'll start with the more low-hanging fruit ones. I'll start with Chase Brown. Phenomenal talent, has looked great on the field, but still, day 3 draft pick. The Bengals didn't really bring in that much competition. Zach Moss, and then he got hurt. I feel like this is a team that could always bring in a different kind of back. And I do think that he was the workhorse less by design, Heath, and more by the fact that Zach Moss got hurt. And we'll look at the first few weeks to see that. Still, phenomenal talent. Love his game. Love that he can get worked in the passing game. Still think he'll have value. But if we're talking about someone who might fall off, maybe him. Another player, Kenneth Walker. Phenomenal talent. Even better talent than Chase Brown, and has the draft capital. I think early 2nd round pick by the Seahawks. But the injuries are often. I mean, they're piling up year after year. Right. And he's got a great back behind him. But my wild card pick, Heath, the player I would not want on my Dynasty or All-Stars and would be looking to trade immediately, though I still think he'll probably finish in your top 12 next year, but further down, Kyren Williams. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. I do have faith in Sean McVay, no doubt. He's an unbelievable schemer, and he loves Kyren Williams. But here's some things about Kyren Williams that scare me. 1, his draft capital. 2, his injury history. And 3, it's really hard to find a quarterback in the NFL. And when you don't get consistent quarterback play, Brian Dable talked about this week. When you don't get consistent quarterback play on a week-to-week basis, you can't go anywhere as an offense. You just can't. And so Stafford, when is that ending? It's probably soon. And then we're left with Kyren Williams in a pretty nebulous situation from a quarterback standpoint. That's just not someone I would want to roster right now.
Yeah, I think there were people that definitely, and you brought up Chase Brown. People were making that same argument for Kyren going into this year. And Goblin in the chat says Bucky's falling out because Bucky falls in that same bucket of a day 3 running back. And the thing that is not scientific research, but Jamie and I have talked about this quite a bit, and it's mostly held true. When I get worried about the day 3 running back is when there is a coaching change. Yep. It's one of the reasons you don't see Tyrone Tracy in the top 12 or the top 24. And maybe, the Giants are building momentum for 2025 with their late season victories. So maybe that keeps Brian Dable's job. Please. And so Tyrone Tracy is safe. But I do think I don't think the Bengals are going to change coaches. Although, if you have Joe Burrow and you miss the playoffs, maybe that's a consideration. I don't think Sean McVay's going anywhere. Tampa Bay's, I guess if they lose week 18 maybe and miss the playoffs, but I feel better about those day 3 running backs. But also this is maybe Josh Jacobs should be ahead of those guys.
Yeah.
It's also just I look at running backs 13 through 24, and I did for a long time because I didn't like the last 4 names in my top 12. And I couldn't find guys who were not in the top 12 that I felt like should be. And so I didn't give you this question beforehand, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it now anyways. Is there a name you're not seeing here that you think is definitely a top 12 dynasty running back?
Ooh, this one on the fly without preparation is a little tougher, but I will take a quick peek. You mentioned one already that I would consider. It's Tyrone Tracy. I know there's a potential coaching change going on there, but likely from what we've heard, the GM is going to be back, and the GM's mindset at running back, it leads me to believe that Tracy will enter at least the next season as the RB1. And by that point, I think he'll be able to establish himself. He's been phenomenal. Just from a pure talent standpoint, looking at the efficiency metrics, Jacob Gibbs has a ton of great stats on this. He's proven himself in my mind to be an every down back, minus the fumbling issue, which he'll have to clean up. So Tracy would definitely be someone that comes to mind first. A couple other guys I could throw in there potentially. Isaiah Pacheco, maybe, not sure. Brian Robinson, like the fit, like the situation, but not sure on that either. Don't feel great about either of those two, but they're just two players.
That's kind of where we're at though. It's there are not 12 running backs, which here you go. We're going to have some more coming. And
we're talking about rookies.
One of them is going to be Ashton Jeanty. My rule, if you're new here for the rookies, is I'm going to add them to my dynasty rankings after the NFL draft.
Yeah,
I'll have rookie rankings earlier, but I'm not going to put them into these rankings. Still, we expect Ashton Jeanty is going to be the first running back drafted. If he's drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, where would you put him in these rankings?
This is a fun question. For now, I'm saying RB8. That seems like a cop-out based on your breakdown earlier about how it does feel we feel comfortable with the top 7. But I could easily, and by the way, that top 7 for me would be the same as yours minus Kyren and add Josh Jacobs. But I could easily be convinced to move him higher depending on the fit.
I was thinking 4, and if I like the fit, it might be 3.
Okay.
Definitely not top 2. But you would not have to, especially with the way that Achane's finishing the season, Nick, you would not have to do much arm twisting at all for me to put Jeanty ahead of Devon Achane. I'm excited. He might not be the only rookie running back that shows up in these top 12. With the way I feel about 9 through 12 in these rankings, we might have 3 or 4 rookie running backs that crack the top 12.
And it's early, Heath, but this is projected to be one of the stronger running back classes we've had in quite some time.
I'm excited about it. It's great because you've got an early pick in YOLO.
Yes.
So you can you can bring your New Year's resolution into fruition by drafting a running back with the 2nd overall pick, something you probably never thought that you would do.